Hello and welcome to yet another video, and in this video I would like to talk about this camera right here. It's the Nikon D200. This is not a review video of this camera, but rather I would like to talk about why I still like to shoot with this camera even now in 2019, as well as why I think it's a great camera to start photography with. So, a while ago I got this camera for about 40 euros. I'm aware that you can get it a little bit higher price or a bit lower price depending on where you live and also the condition that you want this camera. But anyway, this camera doesn't shoot any videos, of course, let me get that straight. But in terms of photography, if you're only gonna shoot for to capture the moment, to post on your social media like Facebook, Instagram, and what have you, this camera is a great or good enough cameras for you guys. If you're looking for megapixel count, then this camera might not be the best camera for you, nor if you're such a dynamic range nerd, this is also not a good camera for you really. But it is a good camera if you want a reliable camera to travel with you, but also for a lower price, and if you're only going to be focusing in photography only. So first, I would like to focus on the ergonomics and the functionality of this camera, and then I'll move on into the photography or image quality, but not too geeky about that. So first, the ergonomics. Obviously, this is an old camera, but when it was first released, it was the semi-professional camera from Nikon. So the design is, it has a really big grip. Actually, it's also very comfortable. It has a lot of buttons that a lot of times you will be needing, that allows you to manually control each different functions of the camera, from not only from your shutter exposure, aperture, but also to your white balance and ISO. Like, there are a lot of dedicated buttons, your drive mode even. So in terms of operation, this camera is also very, very fast, just like a semi-professional camera has to be. And yeah, I can't think of any other buttons that they could add for that time period that this camera came out, and also for the features that this camera offers. And yeah, the screen, however, it is a smaller screen. It is smaller than 3-inch, but if you're only going to be looking at photos, this is actually a good enough screen to have a look at photos. And you also get your top screen for 40 euros. You get your top screen. Well, back then this camera was a lot more expensive, but it shows all of your necessary settings, of course. And the screen itself, it's not the brightest screen and nor the most detailed screen in the world, but it definitely is a screen that will get the job done. See your framing. If you're in a proper lighting situation, you'll definitely be able to judge the color and everything almost accurately, which is nice. The autofocusing system is not lightning fast like the modern DSLRs, but when it gets it in focus, it is in focus. And if you pair it up with a better and faster lens, it will definitely be faster to operate as well. And yeah, that's a good thing. And it has both dials here at the back and in the front to control the shutter and aperture, but also customize to other settings depending on which mode you're in. Yeah, that's about it for ergonomics. So in general, it is a really good camera to operate. The battery is still okay because it only shoots photos and not videos, and there's no live view. So for the battery count, it's actually pretty good. I haven't charged the battery since 2 weeks now, and it's still not even 50% down, and I've been shooting it off and on here and there. Obviously not as intensive as my working cameras, but definitely it is a solid battery life, and you can find these batteries online for like under 20 or even 15 euros from the reliable brands. So for that, you still get like cheap accessories for this camera, which is really, really, really nice. And if you're going traveling, of course the size might not be as beneficial as some mirrorless cameras even, but for 40 euros, or in some cases even if you got this for 60 euros, it's still a good camera for that price that you take and travel. And if anything happens to the camera, in terms of like if it's stolen, if it breaks down, it's not such, a heavy investment. But in the same time, if you want to shoot in like the rain, dust storms, in the desert, this camera will definitely handle the operation because it is also weather sealed and it is magnesium alloy body. Yeah, so now moving on into the image quality of this camera. The image quality is actually quite nice if you, like, assuming you have everything almost properly exposed, then if you shoot in RAW, you will definitely be able to recover a lot of details and you'll be able to play around with the images in post. The color of this camera that comes out of the sensor is really nice and unique. It is a CCD sensor compared to the more modern CMOS sensors that Nikon goes for nowadays. This means the color is, it looks like it has more soul in it, if you know what I mean. There are certain colors that has just the right vibrant, and there's a sweet spot with the CCD sensors that they produce. And yeah, it's really a nice camera to use, and from my testing, the skin tone, if you're shooting portrait, it's actually nice, the rendering. If you're shooting landscape, this is also nice. So in general, it produces really nice skin tone, it has good enough dynamic range, it can perform really well in like the standard low light situations. Of course, the ISO doesn't go as high as the more modern cameras, but if you have good lenses, which if you're buying this camera at this price, you should have enough money to get like at least some lenses that allows a lot of light in. That will also, like, you know, give really good results for low light. And yeah, this is really nice. Oh, and one more thing, I totally forgot. Like nowadays, cheap cameras, you still can't really adjust the metering of the camera, but this camera for 40 euros, you still can adjust the metering and how the autofocus will meter for the exposure for you, which is really nice, I find. Yeah, so that's about it really for this camera. That's why I really like shooting with this camera. It is a nice camera. It is really simple because it is only photography focus only. And there aren't so many modern gimmick features that a lot of modern cameras offer as a selling point. This means I can focus more on photography and only adjusting the necessary settings that I need on this camera. So first, it's cheap price. Second, it's like delivering good enough images that I need for just to capture the moment or post them online or just have an A4 photo print. And also it allows me to focus more on the image rather than knowing like this feature does this feature does that, because they stripped, like, well, it wasn't really stripped away, they just didn't have the technology at the time to add a lot of fancy features. That means I just really focus on the core essential of photography. So this is also why it's good for starting out with photography. You get your manual controls and you get to focus in, like, have the context of the image rather than just like shooting the whole scenery. You can just focus on the actual context of the image, on what you want to bring along. Of course, the images that I'm showing here isn't the best images in the world. I'm not the best photographer out there, but I hope that it gives you like good example of what this camera can achieve, and just pretty much a good idea of why this is still a good and relevant camera. Yeah, that's it for this video, really. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. Or if you still have this camera and why you find it good, also please leave that down below. If you're looking for a free photography book guide for an absolute beginner, I also have it on my website and the link is down below as well. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, and have fun shooting and have a nice day. Bye.